It really all started in 1952, the year after I was born. Back then in the 50s, Detroit was very much like a Silicon Valley. We got lots of really influential people to come talk, and so Professor Walter Loudermilk came to Detroit to speak to the Technion dinner. Of course, the State of Israel had just recently been formed, so he was talking about how if Israel wanted to be independent to themselves, not reliant on any other nation, they needed to learn how to reclaim the land, bring in soil conservation. My grandfather, Samuel Brody, was so taken with all this that he stood up and said, "Whatever's generated here tonight, I will double that." It was the largest gift ever at that time given to an Israeli university from the United States. He felt that by giving money to Technion, that this was going to make Israel safe, secure, and able to survive. From 1962 to 1968, my father was the president of the local chapter here in Detroit. He actually changed it to make it become a fundraising organization. I went to Technion in 1966. My father and mother took my brothers and myself for the dedication of the Samuel Brody Agricultural Engineering Building.
The entry point for me with Technion occurred in 1971-72. Cathy and I were engaged. I was serving in the Navy, and I was able to get some time off while I was overseas. And upon arriving in Israel, we went several days later to the Technion. It was astounding to me. There's a strong concentration of innovative people, I think, in Israel, and there's an environment that really supports it. They call it Startup Nation, and that seems to be in the hills of Haifa.
Jim was president of the local Detroit chapter. Jim was on the national board of directors. Jim was on the board of governors. And one thing about being in the ATS and the American Technion Society, you do make great friends from across the country. But we went in '87 with this young Technion group, and we took our children, and that was in '93. Interestingly enough, when we were in Israel driving around the campus, that was when Jim and I were really looking at the buildings.
They need a support fund to maintain the buildings, and been a great believer that if you give the cost of a building, there should also be an endowment to maintain that building over its life. And so we've decided to give money specifically to maintain buildings, keep them up to date, update the dormitories, which need a lot of work.
We want the campus to be productive and useful and safe and in good use for a long time.
The things that make it so interesting to me to be involved with Technion is learning about upcoming innovations that are found at the Technion and how they end up developing into actual real-world products, tools, technologies that are used. It's astounding what they do.
When I talk to various people, kind of like doing the elevator talk for getting people to donate to Technion, I tell them that Technion is the reason that Israel is Israel today. This is the Technion Centennial year, and it's been part of my life for 72 years. I feel honored, I feel special, I feel blessed that my grandfather had the wisdom and foresight to know that an investment that he made at the Technion was for the independence of Israel. I just felt so proud that I was able to do this work to help the Technion.
It's my hope and prayer that the next 100 years for Technion will bring forth many, many more advances. There's a lot of chaos, and Israel continues on. And I'm supportive of that, and I believe the Technion is instrumental in much of that success.